Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament Gospels, looking at the 250 events in the life of Jesus. And today we're looking at Jesus praying for future believers. If you've been following us along the last 2 days, we're in John 17, which is the whole chapter is one long prayer. And Jesus starts off by praying for himself, then praying for disciples. And today we're looking at this section where he prays for future believers. This comes from John 17 verses 20 through 26, and I'm going to start with it. It's a little shorter, so I will go through it, unlike I haven't been able to with some of the other ones. It says in verse 20, I am praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. I pray that they will all be one, just as you and I are one, as you are in me, Father, and I am in you, and may they be in us, so that the world will believe you sent me. I have given them glory. I am giving them the glory you gave me, so that they may be the one as we are one. He's calling for that one, oneness, that unity. I am in them, and you are in me. May they experience such perfect unity that the world will know that you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. That's important. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Father, I want these whom you have given me to be with me where I am. Then they can see all the glory you gave me because you loved me even before the world began. O righteous Father, the world doesn't know you, but I do, and these disciples know you sent me. I have revealed you to them, and I will continue to do so. Then your love for me will be in them, and I will be in them. And so Jesus here is praying for the future believers, and he starts out, right? He starts out by praying that for all who would follow him, including me and you and others, right? He's praying for all Christians for of all time, and he prayed for unity, right? And he prayed for protection from the evil one and holiness. We see this all in John 17. And so knowing that Jesus prayed for us should give us confidence as we work for his kingdom. I mean, it really should, because we know that Jesus is cheering for us. He's cheering us on. He's in, he's rooting for us, as we would say. And his great desire is for his disciples that they would become one, that there would be unity among them. He wanted them unified as a powerful witness to the reality of God's love. One of the things that hurts us most as Christianity is this a constant infighting we see either inside of churches or between churches or the different denominations, the different groups, right? They're not seeing that unity. They're not seeing that oneness that God called for here, and that can be very damaging to the church and to us. And so the question then is, right, he wanted us unified as a powerful witness to the reality of God's love. So the question is, are you helping to unify the body of Christ, the church? Are you actually helping that? Right? And you can do this by praying for other Christians, avoiding gossip, right? You by building others up instead of tearing others down. Work together in humility, not being arrogant, not be, I'm the best, all that kind of stuff. Work together in humility. Give your time and your money, right? Give both of those. Exalt Christ, put Christ first, and refuse to get sidetracked arguing over divisive matters. And so these are all important things. Jesus praying for unity among believers based on the believers' unity with Him and the Father, and so He's calling for this unification. Now, here's not what He's calling for, because I've seen this a lot. He's calling for all the things that I just mentioned. He's calling for unity. What He's not calling for is ignoring things in the name of unity. And I've seen this a lot. I've seen that people behave in very unchristian like manners. I've seen elders do this. I've seen deacons do this. I've seen people in the church do this. And instead of it being addressed, right, a lot of times it's encouraged, or it's there's some other reasons and stuff that we see. And it says, instead of addressing it and or confronting it like we should, it's like, well, we need to keep the peace, right? We need to be unified. So, we're not going to address it. And so people are able to go around acting however they want. Elders are allowed to be very unelder like and immoral, and actually have very immoral behaviors in the church and outside the church, and they're not addressed because, well, it would cause division in the church. No, that behavior causes division in the church. Actually addressing the behavior causes unity in the church, and that's what we're called to do. And so we need to be careful that we don't get caught up in this ignoring things and not addressing things that we should, just because as a call for unity. And what it boils down to is, in the scheme of things, is we're just afraid to confront people, right? But we're called to do that. If someone's living an immoral lifestyle, if someone's behaving a way they shouldn't be inside the church, then that's to be addressed and called out in a loving manner, obviously, and in a Christ-like manner. But you can't ignore it. Right? By ignoring it, you do more damage to the church. It causes disunity. It causes, separation by ignoring it or just allowing it to happen than it would if you addressed it. And even if the person got mad when you addressed it, you're still unified and address, say, hey, we're not going to allow immoral or unchristian like behavior here. And I've seen so many times where in the church where this causes more disunity than what it would happen if you just addressed it. And a lot of times people use it as an excuse to be able to behave however they want to. It's like, well, if you do this, then you're not being, no. They use unity as a weapon, and that's not what we should be doing as Christians. We need to make sure we're very careful not to get caught up in this and allow that to happen. That is causing disunity. That's not unity. So we need to remember that. And so Christians can know unity among themselves if they are living in union with God. And that's the thing, like I was talking about here. If someone's not living in union with God, we're going to see it. It's going to reflect in their lives. And we need to make sure, especially if it's happening in our leadership in the church, that it's called out and it's addressed. Each branch, right, living in union. And that's what we are. We're each a branch, right? And you have different branches of people, types of churches, types of Christianity branching off of Christ, and we're there to live in union, right, with the vine. Right? You don't see different. Like, you don't go out to a grapevine and see one vine fighting with the other. Right? They live in harmony. They live in unity to help the whole vine grow. And so, and we see this, the vine is united and all branches are doing the same. And again, not every branch is going to look exactly the same. We're not going to agree on everything, but as long as our core mission is Christ and spreading his word, right? Not supporting sinful behaviors, not supporting sinful things like that. Maybe we look different than the other churches, but that's okay. Right? It's okay to do that. And that we don't have, I mean, that if we want to get to that point and say, well, everyone's got to look like us, then you got to go, I've used this before, then you've got to go to China and tell the China church they got to look like us. Then you've got to go to Africa and other countries and tell them all they have to be, and that's where religion comes in. That's not religion, right? We shouldn't try to make everyone look like the American version of Christianity, right? Or what we think our particular version of Christianity looks like. Be convicted in your beliefs, but also at the same time, you don't have to go out and attack other people because their style of worship is different than you, or some of their beliefs vary a little bit different than you. As long as they believe in Christ and are following him, right? A lot of these things don't matter. We don't need to get caught up in all these arguing in these decisive manners. One of the things that we talk about, right, and one of the lines, one of our mottos is, if Jesus isn't going to ask about it on Judgment Day, then we're not going to fight about it. We're not going to argue about it. And I tell you what, that solves a lot of arguments. It solves a lot of things because there's a lot of things. There's very few things that God's going to ask us about on Judgment Day. The main thing is going to be, how did you live your life and how did you treat other people? I mean, that's going to be that's going to show whether you truly believe in it. He's not going to be like, well, what was your worship? Like, what time was your worship? What particular order was your worship? Or did you believe this or did you believe that? He's not going to ask you about those things because he's not going to care, right? We see that we just went through that in Matthew. He's going to look at and he's going to study, ask you about how you treated people and how you reflected him, and that shows how you truly believed in him. So again, the wonderful thing about this passage is we see that Jesus cares about his future believers. He cares about us, and he wants us to live in unity, in harmony, because the more we live unified, the more the world's going to say, hey man, there's something going on. There's something special about those people, and we need to strive for that, not be the ones causing disunity, going out and causing issues and being hateful. That's not what we're called to be. As always, I appreciate everyone for watching. I really appreciate all those who have followed along this far. Like I've said in the other videos, we're getting closer and closer to the end, and I've really enjoyed this study, so I really do appreciate those who followed along this far. As always, subscribe to our channel because we're going to go into some deeper studies, some other studies that we're going to look at, and things. And like I've always talked about too, if you got questions, if you got things you'd like to study, reach out to us and say, hey, I'd like to study this, and we'll work at getting into that. But as always, I appreciate everyone for watching.